মিসিং মারা 5 দিন ট্রেনিং দিয়ে শিখাই মাছ ছিল হাসিন শিখাই এবার এটা আরারে বল করে দিল আর বল করতে দুজন নিয়ে যায় না হাসিন শিখাই খেঙ্গে তারা বরমাত পায় না বরম খেঙ্গে মায়াফান যার কদন না তারা মিটিং মাঝে গলি না মায়াফান হদ্দুর কিরমতে যাই যত আরা মরুত্বাঞ্জর বুঝাই মরুত্বাঞ্জর গ্রুপ বান্ধে তারা যত মিটিং করে ওনারা বুঝাই তারা কি বুঝছে মায়াফান ইনলা কদর আর আগে কি তাই তো মায়াফান কি হন হাজন নয় ইয়াতো মাছ ছিল জানি মানুষ তোর আমরা নিজের হসরে চিরারি আরও বুড়হা তুরহা ছিল হাত দিন ট্রেডিং দিত আরা ফাইতাম আর আনালাকা গ্রুপ আমরা বেকুন তো মিসিং তো আরা সরকার তুদের দে এই মনে কি মাসে 5,000 টাকা আমার 10,000 টাকা আমার
কোথায় যেন মানুষ কাঁদে কোথায় যেন কাঁদছে হায় মানুষ বড় ভয়ে পেয়েছে মানুষ বড় নিঃসহায় কোথায় যেন মানুষ কাঁদে কোথায় যেন কাঁদছে হায় মানুষ বড় ভয়ে পেয়েছে মানুষ বড় নিঃসহায়
This is Rohingya Refugee Camp 22, Block D. People here put perishable and non-perishable waste in separate bins. They have developed an organized waste management system. This has been possible through funding from the Australian government's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to the Australian Humanitarian Partnership Bangladesh Consortium for Waste Disposal Management in Refugee Camps led by Oxfam International. This work is being implemented at field level by 𝐭𝐡𝐞 𝐖𝐨𝐫𝐥𝐝.
পুরা আরে কেমন হইকা খেললি ইয়া মাছি বইতো হসরা মাঝে হসর হইতো মাছি লক্ত পাইতো দেশ তো আর ডাবিং দিয়ে এই মাঝে আর কাঁচা তারা ফেলে দিয়ে আইলো মাঝে কাঁচা ফেলি লাল মাঝে বোতল মেলাসু ফেলি তাই হিন দিয়েছে তো গাড়ি আয়রে লই যাবে
এখন আর মানে দেশ লালু দিয়ে আলু দিয়ে আর লাল মাঝে মানে আর সোনা ফেলা ওরে দাস দিয়ে মাঝে আর ফাঁসা গেল ফেলা আর টাইমের ওরে দাস মানে তার হামগুড়ি বলা দিয়ে তার আয়ার যাবি আর সাফ সুতরা করে তার আর বিয়ারাম আর বাঁচি যাবে.
After dumping the waste in 2 separate bins provided by the project, it is collected by community volunteers.
আমাদের হাইজিন প্রমোটার এবং হাইজিন ভলান্টিয়াররা প্রতিনিয়ত হাউসহোল্ড ভিজিট এবং হাউসহোল্ড সেশনের মাধ্যমে কমিউনিটির মানুষদেরকে পচনশীল ময়লাসমূহ সবুজ বিনে এবং অপচনশীল ময়লাসমূহ লাল বিনে ফেলার জন্য তাদেরকে বিভিন্নভাবে ট্রেনিংয়ের মাধ্যমে শেখাচ্ছেন.
In this whole process, people with disabilities are also included.
হতে বুঝতে মানে দাতাল্লা আর ডেস্কিতো রাস্তা গতি দিয়ে দগিয়ালে লিম্বানা দিয়ে আস্তে এরে ফেলা করলাম.
এই রোহিঙ্গা জনগোষ্ঠীর তাদের বাড়ির আঙিনা থেকে চলাচলের রাস্তা এবং ড্রেন বিভিন্ন জায়গায় বর্জ্য এবড়োথেবড়োভাবে বর্জ্য পড়ে থাকলে এটা পরিবেশকে দুর্গন্ধময় করে, যেটি এই ক্যাম্পে রোগ জীবাণু ছড়ায় এবং বিশেষ করে রোহিঙ্গা শিশুরা রোগাক্রান্ত হয়. কিন্তু উন্নত বর্জ্য ব্যবস্থাপনার মাধ্যমে আমরা চেষ্টা করছি এবং করেছি রোহিঙ্গা শিশুরাও এখন বিভিন্ন ধরনের রোগাক্রমণের থেকে তারা রক্ষা পাচ্ছে এবং হাসপাতালেও তাদেরকে এখন কম যেতে হয়.
A total of 23,015 refugees from 4,411 families have been served through this program so far. By providing solid waste management support, Oxfam International is playing an important role in meeting wash and health targets under AHP Bangladesh Consortium's Basic Needs Outcome. This is 16-year-old Noor Qaida. She came to Bangladesh in 2017 with her mother. Due to multiple disabilities, she did not have the opportunity to study in learning centers when she arrived. Without the chance to meet new people, her mental health was deteriorating. But when an adolescent club was established with the cooperation of Plan International and local partner FIVDB, Noor Qaida was able to participate.
আইন নুরকাইদারে সাঙ্গু সেন্টার অফিসের মধ্যে লইয়া দি সেন্টার সেখানত থাকিলে আর নুরকাইদা খুশি থাকে হাসি খুশি থাকে তারপরে আর তখনও পেরেশানি না লাগে অশান্তি না লাগে সেন্টার সেখানত জনের পরে মন শরীর আগত আরও ভালো দেমাক সইয়ে বহুত
To support the basic needs and self-reliance of thousands of refugees like Noor, Plan International has been working tirelessly as a member of the Australian Humanitarian Partnership Bangladesh Consortium, supported by the Australian Government's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
নোর কায়দা যখন এড়ে সেন্টারত আইতো ওরে সেন্টারত আয় বেশতিতে ইবা
ইনোভেশন আছে সেগুলো অপরচুনিটিস আছে তো এই প্রেক্ষাপটে আমাদের আজকের যে প্যানেল ডিসকাশন দ্য টাইটেল ইজ বিল্ডিং রেজিলিয়েন্স থ্রু ওয়াশ টুডেস চ্যালেঞ্জ অ্যান্ড টুমরোজ সলিউশন উই হ্যাভ ডিস্টিংগুইশড গেস্ট প্যানেলিস্ট most importantly we have invited two keynote speaker they have been instrumental in this crisis response particularly we have with us Abu Saleh Muhammad Obaidullah. He is currently serving as an additional RRC. He was the CIC even in the camp and he has long been experienced on the WASH response. That's why we have invited him to give us a keynote speech on the WASH. Along with we have Julian Grevelio, who is the WASH sector coordinator and he has also a vast experience in terms of managing this crisis. So he is also give a keynote presentation on this. So for this we have also a distinguished panelist who will comment and will share their perspective particularly from the presentation. We have with us Mohammad Ghulam Muqtadir, Project Director, Department of Public Health Engineering, DPIC Dhaka. We have Saidujaman Chaudhuri, Camp in Charge, Senior Assistant Secretary, Camp 21-22 TECNAF. We have Manish Kumar Agurel. Manish, are you here? Yes, thank you so much for being here. And we Mahabub Jabin, who will also join with us, the GIHA coordinator. And we have also our WASH group, we call about our Enam Bhai. He is currently the PIC coordinator in Oxfam. We have also Grover A.S. Casilia, WASH officer UNHCR in Cox's Bazar. We have also Caroline, who is our colleagues from Oxfam previously, who is also join us. Last but not least, we will also with us Jahidul Mamun, WASH officer UNICEF. So I would like to invite all the panelists to the dais. Starting from our two distinguished keynote speaker, RRC, additional RRC sir, and as well as WASH sector coordinator, along with Muqtadir sir, Saidujaman Chaudhuri, Manish Kumar Agoral, Mahabuba Jabin, Enamul Haq, Grover, Caroline, and Jahidul Mamun. সবাইকে একটু জোরে হাতে ক্লাপ দিতে পারি ওনাদের জন্য। যারা আমাদের প্যানেলিস্ট আছেন তারা একটু কাইন্ডলি উপরে চলে আসবেন আমরা এই সেশনটি একটু ইন্টারেক্টিভ করার চেষ্টা করব আর এটা যেহেতু প্যানেলিস্ট ওকে থ্যাংক ইউ So we have invited also the Muhammad Ghulam Muqtadir. Sir, please join with us. Motion. হ্যাঁ এক জায়গা স্যার চলে আসেন এখানে ভাই আপনি এখানে বসে পড়েন সো আমরা এখন আমাদের সময় এমন একটা সময় আমরা সেশনটা শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি এখন 12:37 বাজে সো হোপফুলি উইল এন্ড দিস সেশন বাই 1:30 এবং আই উড রিকোয়েস্ট অল অফ ইউর প্যাশনস অ্যান্ড দিস ইজ ভেরি ভেরি ইম্পর্ট্যান্ট সেশন ফর আস সো উইদাউট ফার্দার ডিলে আই উড লাইক টু ইনভাইট আওয়ার দ্য ডিস্টিংগুইশড keynote speaker our very own additional RRC Abu Saleh Muhammad Obaidullah স্যারকে আপনার keynote presentation দেওয়ার জন্য
Thank you Shariful. Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You see the respected I think the contributors and you see secretaries are still here. I'm not addressing anyone. So I'm not a wash expert, and it's very difficult to speak before a wash expert. So Julian is here, but I'll mostly speak from my experience. Okay. So, and of course, you say I'll go like a bullet train because we are already lagging behind. And as is the modality said today, I'll be bilingual. Okay, mostly speaking in English, but then reverting to Bangla in some cases so that you can understand better. And I speak from my experience because I joined here in 2017 as CIC, worked for 3 years. Many of you know me, I know many of you. Okay, and then I went back to Dhaka and then came again as additional RRC, served around for 1 year. Then I again went back to Dhaka, now joined last month as again additional RRC. So I would speak from my experience. Basically, this is a delving into history, what happened, you see, in the wash sector, and then where we are now, what are our current challenges, and finally, you see, to me, you see, from my experience, you see, the recommendations that I can make for the future. Okay. Can you just change the slides? Okay. So, if you know about the camp settlements, the biggest camp, I don't need to repeat these things, you see, the critical, and even if you look at the topography, very uneven topography, you see, it belongs to the basically, you see, Department of Forestry, but we didn't have any other land to accommodate these people, okay, and congestion, high congestion is there. In some cases, you see, even the shelters are very, you see, together. So, again, another reality is that Cox's Bazar particularly is a coastal district, very prone to, you see, disaster. So you have to accommodate all these things into realities. Now, if you look at, we have 33 camps now, and we have one settlement in Bhashanchar also. We have started relocation in 2020, relocated in Bhashanchar. And of these 33 camps, you know, the two camps are registered camps. They have been living here for more than 30 years now. So if you look at the wash, so delving into history, wash basically there was something which existed before 2017, and then after the influx, because the influx is a landmark, the biggest probably in the region, probably in the history of the world, the biggest one. So as you see, before 2017 there were some wash facilities, but these are all rudimentary, very basic things, some shallow tube wells and very temporary latrines. And as I remember, I went to particularly those who know, you see, beside the register camp, there was makeshift camps. Very, you see, very unclean and full of smells. Okay. So this was the condition. And of course, you see, there were tremendous health risks. But when the influx took place in 2017, you see, we didn't know, particularly at that point, how many people are coming. So one of the critical areas identified at that moment was the wash sector. And I personally, as CIC, you see, as I know, I learned from the experiences around the world, you see. So generally in a setting like this, waterborne diseases is quite common. But if you can really put emphasis on wash activities, that is the only way of preventing this. And fortunately, we managed to do that. Okay, there was no outbreak of cholera in the, you see, to a large scale, even though it took places, you see, at a smaller case. But what happened then, all the humanitarian actors, you see, they also contributed to the wash. So it was mostly against shallow tube wells, very temporary, you see, latrines made of very temporary things. But one thing was added is the chlorination, you see, at the water sources, so that we can prevent, you see, health risk. And roughly more than 50,000 pit latrines are, you see, and these are mostly community latrines. Even privacy in some cases was compromised, okay? And then, you see, so another thing was, you see, that the hygiene promotion was there, okay? And one of the challenges at that time was we didn't know how many people coming. We didn't know about the you see, camp size also. And some hand washing devices. And if you know about these people, they didn't have any formal access to health facilities on the other side of the border. They had little idea of vaccination. They have little idea about modern facilities also. For the first time, you see, coming here in Bangladesh, they came across many things like this. Okay? And then started, you see, a sort of a waste collection. Otherwise, we cannot go forward. And we quickly, we quickly learned that, you need to come up with some settlement activities also, particularly, for the site development activities in order to protect the wash facilities also. And then coordination also took place. Particularly, we at that time emphasized on the coordination between the, as RRC sir also pointed at, between the health and the wash sector, because this was critical. But what was challenged at that time? Of course, the facilities are not sufficient, very insufficient facilities. And as I have already told you, privacy in many cases was compromised. Okay? And then water sources were in many cases contaminated with fecal also, because these are mostly shallow tube wells. Then we move to the next phase. I have termed this one, the intervention between 2000 and 2020. It's a sort of building on the earlier experience and strengthening the wash infrastructure. In terms of water facilities, now shallow tube wells are replaced with the deep tube wells. And then in some cases, there are centralized, water supply, and the solar power pumps are introduced. Then particularly in the dry areas, particularly in Teknaf, there are surface water treatment plants also came into being. So in terms of latrines also, this was towards a more durable structures now. Now, I myself contributed, towards development these structures. Pit latrines are replaced. And for the first time, wash actors started thinking about the sludge management also, fecal sludge management also. Okay. And then environmental concerns were taken into consideration. Okay. And waste bins were distributed at one time, particularly to the refugee or Rohingya families. And then the landfill concept also came into being, because we thought of, we need to collect the waste and we need to, process them also. And the other initiatives also came into being at that time. And in terms of hygiene promotion, it was emphasized. Okay? And now, as we are moving forward, community was empowered, they were trained, they were involved, community was involved, particularly youth and the women, to, to expand the wash messages. The wash sector was, led by UNICEF and the other partners, Oxfam, MSF, and the local NGOs were there. And again, we had always closely linked with the health sector. Okay? Anything happening in the wash sector, it has, direct impact on the health sector also. So still, the challenges were there, because there was still pressure on the wash sector and wash resources, because it was still limited, particularly the population was increasing, and the seasonal flood and heavy rains, they also in many cases damaged the many wash facilities. Okay? Then water scarcity, particularly in Teknaf area, as I pointed out, and for the first time in the early days, probably 17, 18, there were a lot of funds, but then the funds also started to decline. Okay? And management of the solid waste, both the biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste, okay, so being produced in the 1 million people, around 1 million people producing waste, that need to be also addressed. Okay? And for the next phase, 2021 and beyond, we basically look for resilience, okay, particularly from the wash sector, from the donor side also. You cannot invest more on, we need to come up with initiatives that is relatively more durable. So this time focus was more on, consistent, equitable and sustainable access to safe drinking water, centralized pipe system, again with support from so that you have continuous power supply, solar supported, tube wells are there. And I actually gave this idea of rainwater harvesting. I gave other ideas also. We visited some areas in the camps also that were implemented. Probably in future you will see these I will put as my recommendation now. The latrines also, they were upgraded. In many cases, they were upgraded. And the fecal sludge management treatment plants, that was also upscale. Okay. Hygiene promotion, as usual, in addition to the distribution of the hygiene kits, this was emphasized. And one particular technological breakthrough was the introduction of the omniprocessor. If you know, this is the third omniprocessor in the world that is installed in the Rohingya camp. it processes everything, and this is why this is the omniprocessor. So there was effort to build, you see, community ownership also involving the community, involving them in the management of the wash facilities, and collaboration, of course. The collaboration is there, wash sector lead is there, they supported by other one. Then collective approach this time also took place. Capacity building was prioritized, okay, in order to make things, you see, and the best practices, you see, that could be implemented from the wash sector side. So there were some innovations also. This time, you see, the monitoring was you see, stronger, and some mobile-based digital monitoring system, water quality testing also introduced. As I have already mentioned, the technological breakthrough with the introduction of the omniprocessor in the camp. So, can you move to this next one? Okay. So if you now see what are the current realities. Okay, this is just delving the history. So the current realities, the population is growing, but we have limited space. We cannot even allow from the government side. Okay, because as you see, only 8,000 acre of land that was given, so we have to accommodate them. So, and in addition to that, the seasonal vulnerability is there. Okay, last year we have experienced a different thing even. It rained heavily last year, but there was hardly any rain beyond September. Generally, we get rain till October, but last year, we had hardly any rain beyond September. So all it means that you see the dry areas, it poses more challenge this year. Okay, and then you say funding is a critical issue now, particularly after 20th of January, the change in the administration in the USA. Now it has become as a big blow now to us. Okay? And you see the waste management with the growing population, whatever they use, they produce waste. You need to manage waste. There is only one landfill. We are planning to go for the second one, but how many we can accommodate, that's a big question now. And then of course you see with the wash, as health is very closely linked. Wash is basically the preventive side. If you have any lacks on the wash side, it will have definitely impact on the health. Okay? If you cannot take care of the wash things, you will see more patients now. Okay, more patients, of course. Then the environmental concern is there also. If you know, you see those who have been working here since 2017. This particular area used to be elephant corridor. IUCN once, you see, they came up with an idea of reclaiming the corridor, but they eventually gave up. Because you see, they felt that probably we had to relocate half of the camps, and that was not humanly possible to relocate half of the camps. Those who know about the difficulty of relocation. Okay. So again, we need to think of the sustainability of all these things, because we don't know. We are already in the 8th year of the crisis. We don't know when it will come to an end. Okay. So what then are the way forward? So from my side, okay, this is from my side, you see, we need to come up with very improved water supply and distribution solution. And you see, we need to strengthen or augment the water supply capacity. I have been always, from the very beginning, from 2017, I have been emphasizing on using surface water, because we don't know about the storage in the underground storage. Okay. In Teknaf, we are already facing crisis. If it starts in the Ukia also, we don't know what we do, but we need to think of it now. And definitely, we need to go for. We have started this one. We need to strengthen this one also, of the community-based management of the water resources also. Okay. For the sanitation side, definitely we need to expand the latrine coverage. We need to think of probably innovative design now, so that within this small space, even how can we accommodate more. And then regular maintenance is an issue. And we need to come up with the eco-friendly solutions also. Something that goes with the context, particularly the context, both the social and the environmental context. Hygiene promotion, it is there, but sometimes you see because of the funding it goes down, particularly the distribution of the kits. It doesn't take place as it used to take place in 2017, 18 and 19. We need to rethink of this one also. How we can continue with limited fund also. And then you see, of course, we need to consider about the gender and also EVAs also as we go for the wash facilities. Then improved waste management. I was suggesting, you see, something even to, I talked to the UNICEF people to bring in some, you see, innovative solution to the particularly biodegradable waste and also to the non-biodegradable one. If we can convert this into market commodity, probably that's the best solution. So one way, you see, the omni processor, but it requires a lot of fund. You need millions of dollars. Probably we cannot go for this one given the fund crisis now. But we still think to, you see, how we can convert waste into energy. Even if we cannot convert waste into energy, we need to think of, you see, how we can convert waste into at least some commodities that have some values in the market. There are some innovative things is implemented, both in the 𝐭𝐡𝐞 beach and in the camp also. If you come up with the bottle, then you see, you get something in exchange. So this is the one way. Then we need to strengthen the partnerships, even partnerships with the local authorities, okay? And then coordination with all the actors, and then capacity building of the local staff, okay? Local staff, both from those who are working as humanitarian staff, as well as those who are working for the local bodies also. And monitoring, we need to, this must continue. As far as resilience is concerned, we need to come up with, you say, climate resilient infrastructure so that we don't do further damage to the environment, particularly the environment of 𝐭𝐡𝐞. And also structure that matches with it, particularly keeping in mind the dry seasons or dry time in consideration. Then we need to have integrated management, keeping in mind the fund crunch now. Then community involvement, I have talked about this one, particularly the strengthening the local community, local authority, building their capacity, involving them in the management from both the refugee side and the local community side. For the sustainability, I have few suggestions that, you see, we need to incorporate the local expertise, whatever we need to hunt for those and we need to involve them. Then resource sharing, okay, whatever resource we can share, we need to think of this one. Probably we need to go for donor re-engagement, advocate for the donor re-engagement so that they don't forget. It doesn't, you see, go into the oblivion of the donors globally. Okay. And then innovation and funding mechanism also. I have been telling this one also, you can think of this one. Particularly there is Rohingya diaspora all over the world. We are in touch with them. You can even lobby with the government because the traditional fund that is coming from different governments is drying up, or we don't know, you see, how the other governments would react also. But definitely we need to capitalize on the sympathy also. Definitely the Rohingya diaspora all over the world, they have sympathy for these people. So how we can collect fund, we need to think of this one also. Then environmental safeguard is an issue. So maybe we can think of including environmental impact assessments that had already taken place. Of course, you see, Oxfam has already undertaken a research initiative that would identify the cost. But in future, whatever we do, we need to come up with some assessment for this one. Finally, as we all see, the final solution is repatriation of these people. That's the final. We need to all, you see, all of us, we need to tie our hands together so that we can ensure a safe and dignified return of these people to the other side, to their homeland. Okay? That's the final thing. So Bangladesh government is definitely trying. That's the priority for the Bangladesh government, and particularly with this government led by the Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus. And he has clearly given a signal that by appointing one high representative and by, you see, planning to organize a global conference on this issue. Okay? He has already taken it to the global level. All we need to do is to support from our side. Okay? Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, probably later I can address.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Abu Saleh Muhammad Obaidullah, Deputy Secretary and Additional Triple RC in Cox's Bazar. as we have very limited time, we would like to invite Julian Gravelou, WASH Sector Coordinator, Intra-Sector Coordination Group, to the dais for your Q&A speak. Before you start, I'd like to highlight about your role. You are very instrumental in this role because you have over 2 decades of experience. You worked in Nepal, Malawi, Angola, Senegal, Mozambique, Nigeria, DRC, many countries, right? And you are the key person in terms of WASH when it comes to coordination, when it comes to implementation. So through your keynote presentation, we really would like to learn the pressing needs and future aspiration. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So indeed, I think you can introduce myself as a plumber of the world. You mentioned many countries. But over the past 5 years, I've been a plumber of Bangladesh, which is already a lot of responsibilities, working as a WASH coordinator on the response on behalf of UNICEF, because UNICEF is the lead agency. But maybe like many of you, sometimes I'm also a local plumber, especially when my wife is calling me to fix a leakage. So different scale of engagement, global to local. Let's look a bit more particularly into the Rohingya crisis and what we are doing, especially in terms of resilience for WASH. So if I can have the next slide.
Yes, presentation take to then, please. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, WASH, water, sanitation, hygiene, and solid waste, very important in the context of the camps. Let's look at the context, the challenges, and how we can build the resilience for better sustainability. Next slide, please. Okay, let me give you an overview of the response. I think we can be actually quite proud, and I would like to thank all the partners, of course Oxfam, but not only, who have been working on the response, because we can be quite proud of what has been achieved up to date. First, just to say that coordination, I mentioned it, led by UNICEF and DPHE. It's representing today 27 organizations, national organizations or international organizations, as well as 4 UN agencies. We have a budget requested of 70 million for the response, and we've got sub-coordination in Teknafwenukia. Now, what is the situation in the camps? We've got, for the water, 308 water network and so many tap stands connected to those water networks. We also have, and Sir Abdullah, you mentioned it, as part of the initial response, we drilled many tube wells. Today, we've got more or less 15,000 tube wells in the camps. Many latrines have been built, most of them being pit latrine, around 52, which means we've got 20%, 3, 4, sometimes 5 families sharing one latrine. As well as some bathing cubicles for hygiene. Associated with the latrine, we've got many fecal sludge treatment plants, so which means the sludge, we don't really see it in the environment. We are going to treat it before to release it safely in the environment. And finally, a big burden for us is the solid waste. There's still a lot of challenges, but I think we can also be quite proud of what we have achieved with household collection of the waste, as well as segregation of the waste, composting of what can be composted, recycling of what can be recycled, and we've got a landfill for everything that cannot be valued. So, in the camps, currently, on average, people are collecting 23 liters per person and per day, which means most of them are saying they are satisfied, 85%, with the water supply. But there is geographical disparities. We will speak about it. You mentioned it, sir, about Teknaf. The water is safe, especially considering the challenging environment of the camp. 94% free of any E. coli, which means fecal contamination. The amount of sludge we are producing, It's huge. We don't realize because you don't see it if you are not a wash expert. But every day that's 1,000 cubic meter of sludge and 140 tons of waste. We could fill up this room within weeks just with the waste produced in the camps. But same, lot of progress because only 8% of the Rohingya are reporting that they see visible waste in the camps. We are also in charge as WASH of soap distribution as well as providing to all the women menstrual hygiene kits. Next slide, please. So let's look at resilience. We are not relying only on fuel energy. We are using a lot solar energy. We need a lot of power for all the pumping, whether for the water, whether for the sanitation part. As part of building the resilience, we are also strengthening communities and trying to involve them as much as we can for stronger ownership of the facilities we are building. Ici, you see the example of a man from the community cleaning his own latrine or the communal latrine, because I mentioned it, they share it between 20 people. Or you see some community consultation on what can they do, how can they get involved. Sometimes it's through camp cleaning, drain cleaning. We also have a lot of challenges here. To build the resilience, please come back to the slide before. To build the resilience, can you come back to the slide before, please? Don't go too quickly. No, before. Okay, we are also looking at water resources. Water resources through hydrogeological study. And we've got two very different contexts. In Ukiah, we've got safe and sustainable water, especially underground. In Teknaf, we have no underground water. You can drill in Teknaf, unless you are very lucky, you will not find fresh drinking water. Sometimes you find a bit salty water. So that's one of the big challenges. To consider building resilience, we are also doing training of the WASH partners, and I see many in the room, thanks for coming, as well as training of the volunteers, sometimes through livelihood activities, producing, you see a photo of women producing some menstrual pads, or this year we are trying to produce more soap that could be given to the population. And the inclusion, very important as well. You see a design of a facility for people with disabilities. They also have some rights, including to access sanitation. Next slide, please. Few other aspects of building resilience through disaster-resistant infrastructures. As you know, we've got a lot of cyclone, we've got a lot of fire. We have improved the quality of the infrastructure through steel frame metal, for example, steel frame infrastructures. We also put many fire hydrants in the camp so that we can work with the fire response team on responding to the fire. We are also looking at collaboration with development actors, and I can name Asian Development Bank and World Bank, who have been very supporting on the response. You see here a photo of Shalbagan Reservoir, which is in Teknaf, that was built by World Bank, if I'm not mistaken. We are looking at research, innovation on dengue, on cholera, on wash-related disease, everything that can help understand better and strengthen the resilience of the community. We are looking at different water sources, mixing both surface water and groundwater according to the availability, making sure we are not pumping too much in the aquifer, integrating climate change into a program. So I mentioned, for example, solar energy, but it could be make sure of building flood-prone infrastructures, raising up some tube wells. And we have developed many long-term strategies for the water, for the sanitation, hygiene, solid waste, which include both resilience and sustainability aspects. So, what's the future? Next slide, please. Rationalization is something we are working a lot here. It's a word we are using a lot here in Cox Bazar. Means we are looking at how we can be more cost efficient, both from a geographical point of view and from a programmatic point of view. Focus on community engagement. I mentioned a couple of examples. Find a good balance between the UN agencies and involve even more the NGOs. We are looking at equity and equality, targeting vulnerability or targeting the gaps in the camps, like TechNAF, or multi-sectorial collaboration with livelihood, for example, or with health, because we work very closely with health. Climate change, I mentioned. Some concern, budget is decreasing. You have all heard this year that there's a standby on USAID funding, and that will be honestly a disaster if it's confirmed. And also, despite all those efforts, WASH is still mentioned as one of the most needed sectors, definitely in those communities, but also in the camps. I think in the camps is the fourth one request by the communities. So still a lot of challenges going ahead. Thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you so very much for your presentation. So as we have very limited time, we will directly go to the panelists. I would like to come to Jahidul Mamun Bhai apnar kache. So you have been working for this sector over 18 years and you have particular expertise to link the host communities. So from your experience, Mamun Bhai, if you can enlighten us how these communities are now facing challenges in terms of WASH, and what would be the solutions? You can talk from there as well. Yeah. And on important note, from now, as we have time now, we have 3 minutes for every panelist, and we'll go to the plenary. So I would request to keep your comments now in 3 minutes. There will be timing over there. You can just accommodate yourself while time will goes by.
Thank you so much. First of all, thanks to Oxfam and RRRC for organizing this timely workshop. So I think in times of the climate change and also the declining funding sources, this is very timely discussion. First of all, building resilience through WASH, is it possible? So here actually very briefly I would like to emphasize on the integration. WASH is not the standalone approach for building the resilience of the community or the people. We need the health, we need the nutrition, we need the education with WASH as well. And in terms of the host community, as I'm leading the host community program in UNICEF, so here actually the two things I would like to highlight. First of all, the host community WASH situation is comparatively worse than the Rohingya refugee right now. And also the building peace and social cohesion. So I mean the humanitarian development nexus is very key for the upcoming solution for the host community people as well. Because Cox's Bazar is historically having the low WASH coverage and also having the climate change and disaster effects. So equally we have to put attention to the host community as well to solve the problems, integrating other approaches like education, health, nutrition, and climate changes. Over.
Thank you so much, Jahid Bhai, for your perspective you talk about. Now I would like to come to particularly the CIC perspective. You know, is like there is a C6. Oh, he's not here. Sorry. So I feel that he is here. Notice. So We have with us Muhammad Ghulam Muqtadir, Project Director, Department of Public Health and Engineering, and DPIC plays a very crucial role, like in shaping the wash sector in Cox's Bazar. Like you see from the very earliest stages, you have been doing a great job. You have some big projects under World Bank and ADB, and there are supposed to have better result on this. And in future, there will be needing some sort of big intervention that in the keynote speak we have found it out. From your perspective, how do you see the future challenges and the solution?
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, though I was representing my chief engineer, department. Your people, I am the project director for emergency assistance project, working with all your support. I think along with you all, I know the situation very well, and the keynote already presented here is given very brief and very comprehensive way the situation. So we all know the challenges, and we are all almost know the solution, but solution is very difficult, what we say, because we don't have any straightforward solution. We know that we need water, because this project already in the very beginning we discussed that when the influx came, DPH is one of the government department that actually we are working within the camps. I don't think there is any other government department directly working in the field level in that way. So with support from World Bank and ADB, we are actually leading the water supply and also some waste and energy, and also the omniprocessor that is mentioned. And regarding the TechNAF, we already mentioned that that is the main challenge area. The UKIA, we are so far we are doing, but definitely I am facing challenge. Particularly the groundwater is slowly getting scarce, and also the pump are old enough, not producing the same efficiency, and the solar panels are not working with the same efficiency. So the coverage already we know. So we have in those things. So as a project is a fixed resource, fixed budget, so we are hopeful that our next coming project will address some of these issues. And for the future, definitely we are considering to address the TechNAF issue. We have a plan to support as the water source to the TechNAF water supply, that we have provided a very big water reservoir with the rainwater reservoir and the surface water, and we will also conjugate with the groundwater, whatever available there. So we'll make a big reservoir and we'll make a water source. From that, we hope in the future, very recently we'll be able to supply water to the TechNAF Poroshobha. And this is still in the feasibility, we are working on it, because the route for the supplying water is yet to finalize. We hope that it will go through the roadside, but we are also alternate planning to go through the embankment side of the NAF River. So as soon as we have the feasibility, hopefully by next project we will do this one, but we need immediate intervention for this year also. So for that, I have only one provision right now, that I have some vehicle for water tracking, and 7 vehicles. Before this immediate solution, I will try to provide those vehicles to the sector, so that we can at least give some water to the TechNAF communities when there emergency water crisis, severe water crisis. Thank you from my end.
Thank you so much for your insight, sir. So I'd like to come to you, Grover, to you. Like as you see in the particularly keynote presentation, there are a lot of challenges, particularly given the context of reduced funding, internal different sort of challenges. As UNHCR, you are a big stakeholder in this crisis. So how do you see the future?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you to Oxfam to facilitate this event, for this opportunity. And in regards to your question, how we can, how do we see the future? I think from the beginning of the event, the previous speakers, the guests, they emphasized a lot on the crisis, and the funding now is on the top of the agenda. And with those restrictions, we are still responsible to deliver basic service, basic water, basic sanitation. I mean, nobody here can live without water, right? So we all need water. We all need a toilet to use every day. So how we manage the situation with this, under this context? I think I would just mention a couple of good examples, and I will mention Oxfam as part of it because the credit should be mentioned. So in collaboration with Oxfam, I think very critical projects have been started. So one of them is fecal sludge management. So I always mention, like, every day 1 liter of fecal sludge is produced for one refugee in the camp. So we have 1 million refugees, 1 million liters of fecal sludge every day is produced. And then if we don't want to pollute the rivers and cause public health, we need to properly contain, transport, treat, and then dispose in a safe manner. How do we do it? So as the emergency started, there were so many initiatives, small scale toilets, small treatment plants, but at the end, after this so many years, we developed large scale solutions. For this context, large scale solutions is the most cost efficient. Large scale solutions that are also nature-based solutions. We don't have to add additives, we don't have to add electromechanical components, so it's nature who does the treatment. And then this has been started together with Oxfam at small scale, in piloting, and today in our camps we have 3 large-scale fecal sludge management solutions. So those are cost-efficient, those can be managed by the community, and those ensure the service provision under this situation. So I think we need to learn from those initiatives that have been demonstrated at work, and we can replicate, because, I mean, this is a big learning not only for Cox's Bazar, it's a big learning for Bangladesh and also for around the globe in the humanitarian sector. So this will be my message. So we need to learn from that, replicate what has been demonstrated that works, and also apply in other parts wherever we have similar context, even in Bangladesh, to replicate those systems. So we can, you know, not only learn Cox's Bazar, but all those learnings are replicated. Thank you very much.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much. আচ্ছা আপনারা তো অনেক সেটা হাতে ক্লাব দিতে পারেন মাঝে মাঝে, ওনারা তো অনেক ভালো ভালো কথা বলতেছে, রাইট? দে আর টকিং অ্যাবাউট ফ্রম দেয়ার গ্রাউন্ড, ফ্রম দেয়ার রিয়েলিটিস উইথ এক্সপিরিয়েন্স। লাইক এই প্যানেলে আমাদের প্রায়, আমি হিসাব করে দেখলাম, উই হ্যাভ 350 years of experience. Like if you consider all of, like, from now to like 15, 20, 30 all together. So now I would like to come to Caroline, to you. So it's very pleasing moment to us, like you previously worked for Oxfam, now you have recently deployed for IOM and to leading the wash sector in Bangladesh, particularly in Cox's Bazar. So I was also previous Oxfam IOMer, so happy to have you with you. I would like to ask a particular questions from the innovation perspective. When you worked here, you know the community perception tracker as well as the our initiative on the different social innovation perspectives. Particularly from the host community perspective, how this innovative approach can bring more sustainable solution to the wash sector?
Thank you very much, and I also want to start by appreciating Oxfam and recognizing that I am a plumber of the world. I still consider myself a plumber of the world as a water engineer, and it's quite an honor to be part of this forum. Thank you for your question, and I would like to focus on innovation by combining two areas that some people have been alluding to since the beginning of this workshop in the morning. I think for me, one of the things I must admit is when I worked for Oxfam, I liked how we looked at innovation, because innovation brings synergies between different stakeholders, and at the same time, it's about knowledge transfer to the locals that are going to be in that context in the long term. And that is how I'd like to approach this question. I think if we are looking at solving problems as plumbers of the world, if we look at self as innovators, the idea is to bring innovation and bring synergies between the government ministries, who are the key stakeholders in any society, plus the UN, who play a very big role, especially in bringing together the donor community and as well as advocacy. And then the other stakeholders like the international organizations, the national, local organizations, the communities themselves, the research institutions, and most recently, private sector. I think if we don't look at innovation from that first lens of bringing synergies, we are going to miss out. And one of the examples I like to give is CPT, the community perception tracker that we did during COVID. I was here in COVID and I was leading the Oxfam Bangladesh in terms of addressing the COVID-19 response, and I was also supporting the Asia region. And one of the things we learned from the community perception tracker is we needed to get real-time data, and we needed a digital system because we are working also in the 21st century. Technology has advanced. When we started humanitarian aid, I remember back in the days in Africa in the 90s, technology was an illusion. But we need to remember that we are in 2024. Most of the societies that we are engaging in, like in host community here in Bangladesh, I think one of the things that was also mentioned, which is critical, they were the first responders before the international community came in. I came in early 2018, right after the response had started. But when we came, there was something that the host community was already doing together with the government. So I think for me, we need to look at innovation from that perspective of the synergies that we can bring together from the different stakeholders, and most importantly, the transfer of skills. Because even if we are an international community and we may have great ideas, it's important that the innovations that we introduced are very well understood and appreciated and owned by the communities themselves, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that will run with the solutions. So I think for me, what I would end my comment on that question is innovation is very important, but we must link it with synergies with stakeholders and transfer of knowledge and skills to build the existing community that are always the first responders and will remain the actual responders once the international community exits. Thank you very much.
Great words, Caroline. So I just would like to bring your attention, particularly this event has been live streamed on Oxfam RRRC's Facebook pages as well as YouTube. And we have a specific website for this event. In future, all of the discussion that we have had right now, that will be produced on the website and we'll get everything together. By saying that, I would like to come to Mahabuba Jabina Apnar kache. So the questions would be like, in the Rohingya response, we are talking about marginalized people, but from the WASH perspective, the vulnerability are the most for the most vulnerable people. So from your perspective, can you just enlighten us how we can reach out to the most vulnerable people to meet their challenges, particularly from the WASH perspective?
Thank you so much for your question. This is actually a very important question to link with the perspective. And for that, a gender responsive WASH interventions, this is very important. As you know, like in Cox's Bazar, after the influx happened, we have been trying to, coordinate with all of the important actors on how we can integrate gender issues and how we can understand the perspective of the gender inequality in the Rohingya refugee population. So for that, I understand there has been a lot of work to identify who are the most vulnerable among the vulnerable population. As the RRRCs are mentioned, that they are the most ill-fated person right now among us in this response. So yeah, obviously, all of us know the most vulnerable are the women, the girls, but it's not limited to that. Even the men, boys, gender diverse population, persons with disability, elderly population, many of them can be vulnerable at any point of their life. So so reaching out to them is very critical. There has been a lot of interventions already. As Julian also mentioned, like after the influx, now every 4 or 5 families or 19 people, they use one latrine. So when we consider about the most vulnerable people who are either women, pregnant women, young girls, or maybe the persons with disability, how would they reach out to those latrines if it is for one latrine per person? So considering those aspects, considering the hidden practices, and also understanding the context of the Rohingya refugee response is really important. I understand, like if we want to have a real change, we need to understand the context. We need to engage the most vulnerable people for designing any interventions, WASH-related interventions, to understand their perspective. And also, like as everybody knows, this is the 8th year of the influx, right? And we are at the protected crisis. So now we need to think beyond taking some interventions, beyond how we can do a good behavioral change among ourselves, like starting from the individual level, from the household level, and from the community level. So I think that will be a great like possible way out for targeting and having an intersectional approach to understand everyone's perspective, not just generalizing all of their issues. So I think in that way we can do that.
Thank you. Very, very important points that Mahbooba just mentioned. So you will have also the opportunity to share your views, particularly questions to the panelists. So keep your questions with you, either written or with your mouth. We will come to you after our 2 panelists speak about the topic. So I'd like to come to our WASH guru. আমরা বলি অক্সফামে আমাদের একজন গুরু আছে, তার নাম আপনারা সবাই অনেকেই জানেন, এনামুল হক। তিনি জিএসটিতে কাজ করেন। আমি তাকে একটু বাংলায় জিজ্ঞাসা করি, 2017 সালে যখন আসে এই মানুষটা একেবারেই যেখানেই যায় ইমিডিয়েটলি সে কমিউনিটিতে চলে যায়। আজকে যে বড় বড় ট্রিটমেন্ট প্ল্যান্ট আপনারা দেখছেন, ফিকাল ট্রিটমেন্ট প্ল্যান্ট, ওয়াটার ট্রিটমেন্ট প্ল্যান্ট, প্রত্যেকটা জায়গায় এই এনাম ভাইয়ের অবদান আছেন। হি ইজ ভেরি প্যাশনেট অ্যাবাউট ইট। তেন আমি আপনার কাছে পার্টিকুলারলি কোশ্চেন যে ওয়াশ ইনোভেশন কেন এই রোহিঙ্গার মতো ক্রাইসিসে সো ইনস্ট্রুমেন্টাল, এটার সাস্টেনেবিলিটি আসলে কতটা দরকার ইন ফিউচারে?
থ্যাংক ইউ। আসসালামু আলাইকুম, গুড আফটারনুন। আমি একজন খুবই প্লেজার, ইটস মাই প্লেজার, একজন ক্ষুদ্র মাঠকর্মী, প্লাম্বার, অক্সফাম গ্লোবাল টিমে আছি। এখানে সবাই বলেছে রোহিঙ্গা রেসপন্সটা একটা এক্সাম্পল ফর অ্যাজ এ গুড মডেল ফর রেসপন্স গ্লোবাল ওয়াশ কাস্টার। এখনও যে কোনো দেশে আমি একটু আলজেরিয়ার সাথে কাজ করতেছি, ওখানে ওরা এখানকার রেফারেন্স দিল, হ্যাঁ ওই সলিউশনটা ওখানে একটু করো, তো পুরো গ্লোবালে হয়। তো এটা হওয়ার আমি জাস্ট একটা কারণ বলবো, একটা ছিল ওই সময় কোইন্সিডেন্টলি অল রাইট পিপল ওয়াজ দেয়ার। আপনি চিন্তা করেন একটা রিটায়ারমেন্ট এজ ডিপিএসসি চিফ ইঞ্জিনিয়ার দেন সুধীর দা, উনি রিটায়ারমেন্টে চলে যাবেন। 18 ঘন্টা ডেইলি 6 উইকস নট ইন কক্সেস বাজার অফিস, ফিল্ডে ঘুরে বেড়াইছে। তারপর আপনার এখানে যে সম্বুল বলল যে ইউএনএইচসিআর ইজ এ স্পেশালাইজ রিফিউজি অর্গানাইজেশন, ওদের ওয়াশের হেড ছিল, ইউনিসেফের হেড ছিল, সব মানে সব টপ লোকগুলো, ইভেন ওয়াশ সেক্টরেরও সিনিয়র যে কোঅর্ডিনেটর গ্লোবাল সবাই ছিল। তো আমরা যারা বাই মিড অক্টোবর the whole perception, future forecast, everything was thought through and a strategy was done. এখন যেটা বাকি আছে এটা মানে সবগুলোই তো যে আমরা 17টার মতো ইনোভেশন আমরা ইয়ে করেছিলাম তখন, এই যে সোশ্যাল আর্কিটেক্ট সহ না, সাইট প্ল্যানিংয়ের জন্য। আপনি মনে রাখবেন যে কি 2000 একর, 4000 একর, তারপরে 6000 একর, এগুলা কিন্তু এইভাবে আসে নাই।
ফিউচারটা কি যদি
ফিউচারটা এখন ইয়ে তো আছেই, আমাদের কমপ্লিকেশনস আছে যেটা সবাই বলেছে, ফান্ডিং আছে, জিওপলিটিক্যাল চেঞ্জ হলো, রিপাট্রিয়েশন নিয়ে, তারপরে গভর্নমেন্ট চেঞ্জ ইন দ্য বর্ডার। এখন যেটা হবে আপনার সাস্টেনেবিলিটির জন্য মানে এটা চেঞ্জ হয় না যে টেকনাফ পেনিনসুলা ইজ এ ভেরি vulnerable eco-environmental systems, the Naf estuary, and you have Bay of Bengals, you have a water crisis there, and then of course natural সব কিছু মিলে। তো এখন যে ইয়েগুলো আছে, যেমন লং টার্ম মাস্টার প্ল্যান লাগবে, আপনার যে রিসোর্সেস আছে যেটা ব্যাংকের অ্যালোন ইজ এ মোর দেন জিআরপি ওয়াশ পার্ট, হ্যাঁ, এগুলাকে আপনি সিনক্রোনাইজ করে আর লোকাল গভর্নমেন্টস অ্যান্ড লোকাল কমিউনিটি যেমন ডিপিএইচই তারা মিলে ওই লং টার্ম ইয়েগুলো নিতে হবে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
থ্যাংক ইউ নাম ভাই। হ্যালো হ্যালো, আপনার কাছ থেকে হয়তো আরও শুনতে পারলে ভালো লাগতো, কিন্তু আমাদের সময় যেহেতু কম। আচ্ছা, আপনাদের কাছ থেকে আরও একটু 10 মিনিট সময় কি আমরা চেয়ে নিতে পারি? হোপফুলি ইউ হ্যাভ এ গ্রেট ব্রেকফাস্ট উইথ লাইক স্ন্যাক্স অ্যান্ড আদার্স। Yes, we'll come to, we have one panelist left. I would also love to hear from you. এটা কি শোনা যাচ্ছে? হ্যালো, শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? So now I would like to come to Manish Kumar Agarwal, to you. So I have a specific questions. You are a country director and you also worked in the ground as an Oxfamer as well, right? And you see you are very involved in the process of JRP in the Dhaka level, and you know currently wash sector is one of the critical and deprioritized sector, I should say. As a country director, and you are dealing with donor and international partner, what's your call to action to them?
Thank you very much, and once again thanks to Oxfam for inviting me and organizing such a great event. And I can also say that I am also plumber of the world, because coming from the engineering background, started working as WASH, including with Oxfam. So it's a proud moment. We are here in terms of resilience, and before I come to your question, when we are talking about resilience, you know, normally the first thing which comes to our mind is that resilience, most of the people will think about livelihoods. But actually, if you look at deeply, you know, WASH, for me, WASH, water stands for basically life. S, which is sanitation, stands for dignity. And then the hygiene, which is basically the sanitation is the dignity, and then the hygiene is a good health. So if you combine water, sanitation and hygiene, which is life, dignity and health, that's the resilience. So it's not just livelihood, but water, sanitation, hygiene do form a fundamental or foundation of the resilience. And here we are talking about resilience of refugees, resilience of Bangladeshis, and the resilience of the system which sustain them. And WASH is one of the important system as part of this response. And the question, you know, what you were asking, what I see is that we should not look at, you know, like Obedullah sir has already provided a lot of good insights, and I would definitely agree with him that we should not look at WASH as like a short-term approach or is a temporary solution. Those were applied during the first phase of the response, and we are so glad to see a lot of innovation has been already tested, has been done, has been scaled up. I think we need to look at WASH from the very long-term point of view in this particular crisis, and we should not even look at only from the refugee point of view, because WASH infrastructure, if they are built well, then they actually sustain for decades and decades. Even, you know, our grandchildren will be remembering that, you know, this water system was built in those days. So we need to look at these WASH infrastructure from the long-term point of view, and that's my request would be to donors. That's what I would be kind of advocating at Dhaka level, and that's not possible from the humanitarian funding. This needs development funding, the large-scale development funding, because once the repatriation takes place, which we all want, these people will be going back to their homeland, and these all infrastructures will be utilized by the people who are living in Cox's Bazar, the Bangladeshi people. And this infrastructure can really help them and can create as a lifeline. We all know the importance of WASH, like, as I was initially explaining, and now since I'm working with Concern Worldwide, which works on the nutrition, how important the WASH is to prevent the malnutrition. We know that the malnutrition, one of the major causes is also having unsafe WASH, be it in terms of unsafe water, sanitation and hygiene. So this is like just one example, and who knows, like Bangladesh is still, despite a lot of progress, we still have huge amount of stunting, wasting among a lot of children, which then impacts, if you ask just what, you will reach that, we are talking about, yes, unhealthy person, which means unproductive. So just to conclude my thoughts, that WASH should be seen as a permanent, as a long-term phenomena. And number two, as a plumber, if I want to conclude by saying that we can also say leveraging infrastructure, because I'm talking from the plumber point of view in WASH context. So leveraging infrastructure for the empowerment, dignity, health in this Rohingya refugee environment, which you can acronym called LIFE. So this is, WASH is actually a life in this context, and we need to think from that point of view.
Perfect message. Thank you, Julian, Obaidullah sir, and the panelists for your very, very insightful discussion and comments. Now the floor is yours. We want to take the only questions, not the reflections, because I guess the keynote and the discussion, they have already covered the very, very insightful things. If you have any questions, in next 5 minutes, we will ask the question. You can ask the question one, and particularly a panelist. Volunteer, please go over there.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. It has been many days that since we've been responding to this Rohingya response. There is a growing anger among the host community that they believe that the layer of the water is getting down and the water is not coming to the surface. And as you know, what we want, peaceful coexistence and cohesion. But at the moment, the problem is, we understand the humanitarian principle. We also understand the protection mainstreaming. But at the same time, what the problem is, the local people thinking that they are, because of the excessive number of the people, like 1 million
What is the
people,
question?
getting the water, the layer of the water is getting down. And do you think because of the excessive practice of the just pulling the water from the ground, the layer is getting down, or it is still okay that the people will be able to use the water for next 50 years?
Question to who? Anyone?
Question to any Stephen, or anyone can give the answer. I don't have a particular panelist.
Let's
to give
get
the
couple of questions first,
Okay,
then we can take it as a responser. So you're talking about the growing concern, particularly the host community perspective. Anyone? So you want to respond that. So kindly keep it with you. We'll come by taking couple of questions from the plenary. Anyone want to ask questions? Just identify yourself, direct questions.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bidara Khan. I am the head of economic inclusion in Oxfam. My question is, first of all, thank you to the esteemed panel. My question is to Ms. Caroline Muturi from IOM. You talked largely about innovation and also engaging, especially the role of private sector. And in Oxfam, we have been in conversation with our private sector partners as we see their value addition into this humanitarian sector should be growing in future now that the crisis has transformed.
Directly.
The question is, the policy paralysis or the policy struggles that private sector faces, or at least fears, they're skeptic largely to enter and engage with the sector, let alone to know what to do and where to start from. Do you or any of the development partners in the stage have any plan how to engage them more constructively?
Yes. Thank you so much. Question is clear. Anyone? So this question is to whom? Bidharapa? Caroline.
To Caroline.
So private sector engagement and what is the challenges and future? Anyone? This part we have covered, that part here. Please just identify yourself and ask your direct questions to a specific panelist you would like to ask.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is MD Ziaul Haq, working with WHS Bangladesh as a head of project. So I would like to draw attention to Mamun Bhai. So as you have said about the SDP approach, I mean the humanitarian development and peace approach. So right now, WHS has also planned to introduce this kinds of project, and we have also similar feelings like that. So as a UNICEF lead agency, have any plan to strategize the SDP with WASH through coordinating with WASH sector?
Perfect. 2 more questions. Please, Maun Bhai, keep this question with you to respond. Then anyone this side? Yes.
Hi. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, this is Arif.
জি আরিফ ভাইয়ের কাছে আমরা শুনে আসি যেহেতু এইটা একটু ঠিক করে দেন প্লিজ আরিফ ভাই বলেন।
Hello, thank you. So hello, this is Arif. I am actually the head of response of Jugantar Samaj Unnayan Sangstha. I have a questions regarding just a additional question on the ground level water at the camp. I saw that Julian's sharing some information like the more than one wash infrastructure is there. So what is the impact particular, because the limited area and a huge infrastructure is there, so how the impact of the water level, and also what are the impact of the host community for increasing a lot of wash infrastructure?
Yes,
particularly
thank you so much. The question is clear, the impact of water level. এই পাশ থেকে একজন বলতেছেন last questions we are taking.
Managing in Rohingya camp. Even if I
Question,
see the
brother, question, question.
In Gulshan Bonani, it's also not managed by what we are managing in the camp. So how we transform this learning from refugee camp to the development sector in Bangladesh, in other city of the Bangladesh.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sound is clear. So I would like to come to our WASH coordinator first to respond the question in 1 minute. Yes.
Okay.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Yes.
I mean,
so because we are just between the lunch and
if you want to actually discuss the drop down of the water table, don't come to the meeting related to plumber of the world. Come to the meeting related to agriculture of the world. Why? Because there is 4 times more extraction from agricultural use rather than domestic use. That's my first part of the second part. There is a lot of rumors about water going down. We have scientific evidences with the University of Dhaka and UK-based organization, Groundwater Relief. We have done a good study of the aquifer. The one in Ukiah is sustainable fresh water. Okay, there is a drop down due to the large pumping, but it will not be. There is more recharge than abstraction.
Yes.
So there is no concern. In TechNaf, it's not related to underground water extraction because there is no underground water.
Perfect.
In TechNaf.
Perfect. Thank you. So Caroline, I'd like to come to you. There is a specific questions from Bidhorapa about the private sector engagement, particularly lacking some policies.
Yes.
And
Thank you very much for your question. I'd like to answer that question by
1
giving
minute.
a practical example, yes, because I only have 1 minute. I'm reminded of when I was in Oxfam serving in the global humanitarian team, Unilever approached us. I think we all know Unilever, they make soap. And they understood that humanitarian sector, one of the commodities that we distribute in the NFIs is soap. And they are producers of soap. So what they did is they came to us, they said, we want to partner with you, but we don't know how. So what we did is we sat down together and we spoke. I think the fear of policies not being open to private sector engagement is more of a perception. In my opinion, yes, we do sometimes have limitations, but I think as you can see in this table, we have government represented, we have the sector represented, we have UN represented, and we have the national organizations also represented. My straight answer would be, if you're in the private sector, you're interested to plug in and provide a solution, come to us or talk to us, reach to anybody. You can address it to the sector. You can address a UN organization or any organization doing WASH. You may not have the solution,
yes,
but together we could find the solution.
Perfect.
That is my
Mamun
answer.
Bhai, over to you.
So thank you so much for nice question about the humanitarian development nexus, about the experience of UNICEF, if I understood clearly. So first of all, UNICEF has the dual mandate, responding to the humanitarian crisis, at the same time promoting the development approaches for the long-term development and resilience. So on the very onset of the crisis, UNICEF started supporting the very adjacent host community program with the similar nature, the people, those who are equally impacted by the refugee crisis. Then on 2019, UNICEF DPHE created an evidence about the WASH mapping in the district to extract the WASH status, and based on that, UNICEF expanded its host community program entire district. So now we have the CLTS approach, sanitation, marketing, WASH in school, WASH in health, and also the need-based emergency support in the district. So I think it's a long journey, cannot be explained by 1 hour. Let's have a bilateral meeting so we can share our experience in more detail.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
There's the last question on waste management. Who wants to respond? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, it's a very good example in the camp. Definitely, if we go there, but the major challenge in our Poroshobha, you know, the funding, because in the camp you have the operation maintenance fund available. You know, the operation maintenance basically related to the you know what fund you have. So I think definitely it can be a lesson learned how you are managing everything. But on top of that, you have to keep in mind that there is no other source of fund in any other places like here. This is one thing, and again I want to go back to the Julian's comments. Whenever we are talking about the groundwater, we always think that the groundwater crisis is for drinking water. But we all should in the sector, we should bear in mind that we only use 4 to 5% of the total extraction of the groundwater for the drinking purpose. It is mostly used for agriculture and industrial purpose. So for even if we have the available groundwater, we should go for it. It's the more economical and more. So that's we should keep on, because everywhere we go and we talk like that, by taking the drinking water, we are exploiting the whole aquifer. It's not that thing. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I am just stopping you because the time constraint. Appa was to answer the very last questions. Just if you can also take this mic.
Thank you very much. I am Rubai Afros. I am Additional Deputy Commissioner, Cox's Bazar, and currently doing my job as an administrator of this Cox's Bazar municipality. So I have some, no questions, just a request. Since you are working for FDMNs and you have some parts you are doing for host communities, and in case of host community, you always, most of the time you target Ukhiya and Teknaf, but Cox's Bazar municipality is a great part, and our fecal sludge management system is very poor, I must say. We are doing some work with DPHE in a very small scale, and some NGOs are doing something, but I'm requesting you all to contribute for Cox's Bazar municipality, since we are suffering a lot for these FDMNs.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Well taken. So thank you so very much, panelist speakers. Now I would like to invite Ataur Rahman, our head of humanitarian response of Oxfam Bangladesh, to give a vote of thanks and conclude this session. Particularly when he is coming, I just want to add a note. This is now 1:50. So as the lunch is served already, so it would be great if you come here by 2:30, because there is exciting session starting from 2:30 where all the partners, executive director, including couple of INGO head, will join us to discuss about the current realities and future of the Rohingya challenge. That will not only under WASH, beyond WASH. Over to you, Ataur bhai.
Family, not in crisis situation, even in normal situation, everything is right. If they have lot of income, but if the health and wash facilities are not at the optimum level, this is gone. So thank you so much, our two panelists from RRC office and wash sectors, and who has actually explained very details along with way forward, some innovation and resilience initiative in WASH sectors, which is very much important, because we are not undermining any sectors, but WASH is the most life-saving sectors in all crises. And also the 7 panelists from UNICEF, GEHA Working Group for Women, and also concern worldwide, IOM and also UNHCR, and finally our host, the DPAC, and our WASH guru from global team. Thank you so much for your insight and suggestion and reality on the ground. And I'll say thank you so much, you all. But the message I personally gathered from here, whatever we talk, innovation, resilience, now the ground reality is funding to ensure quality support for the community, not only Rohingya, also the host community. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to request you to join the lunch and request to bring your lunch coupon with you and request to come back here 2:45. Thank you so much for your time.